Hi, good afternoon from the Hostage Report. Today I'm going to deal with some of the metaphorical contexts of chicanery, which in realistic metaphorical terminology could be deemed similar to the dark arts. It's the wild and woolly math equations that are going on to justify certain events that make no logical sense. And I'll use an example. It's like a quarter. Sure, there's a quarter with a picture of a state on it. But if you give that quarter to somebody, does that mean that you gave the entire state for a quarter to that person? That's an extreme example, but it's not that far overboard, to be quite honest with you. They try to hide, or the factions that are utilizing this it's tried to be under the heading of extreme couponing. That's what it is. It's how can you know, it's this hatred and this value driven, or and it in my estimation, it's derived from the whole context of the value of the individual and the value that can be derived. There's always this gray area battle of what's going on in the world as far as justification of existence through control mechanisms. So what's really going on is, and this is one of the, and this gets directly into the motive of my long-term hostage status. But it's free-range chicken hostage. I'm on a short leash. There, the bubble that I'm surrounded by, like the Truman Show, basically the JC Jim Carrey. Um, and the funny part is, in order to cosmetically improve the image of the hostage takers, I'm forced to turn into a character like the cable guy, Jim Carrey, to let me out here, and looked all strange and weird trying to escape the real smart organized crime kidnapping. Now that is some university smarts on a high level. That's that mad, weird science sort of thing. So the possessions that have been my entire life's possessions, pillage. And there are certain ones that have more meaning than others, of course. But in order to, what they're trying to do is to transfer my personal energy into the possessions. And that's one of the main motives for hacking my genetics. So by relegating my body insignificance, it then leads it extracts all the power. It's like power is, they put plugs into me. But the problem is they've way overdone it, and they can't do anything. Nobody will do anything about it. There are no responsible parties here. That's why the law, I call the law, it's crooked law. They have to realize, well, they're going to try it under the card. Well, he's just a little bit nutty. Yeah, whatever. There's a lot of synchronicity evidence to this. Like I said, I'm writing a strategy book here, trying to figure out what's gone wrong, but instead, there's all sorts of plugs. I'm like one of those plugs where you see and they stick just this octopus of plug. They just plug so many in, and I'm literally, there's brown out. You can see I'm shooting flames like a dragon shooting flames because they plug so much into me, because I'm dying of starvation, I'm dying of dehydration, and I'm being choked to death to be Smurf Reverend Blue for the Wesleys. Yeah, that's a whole nother. And the vanity aspect. I gave my sister a mirror, and I didn't really think much about it at the time. I was on a trip. I found a nice mirror at an Indian um, reservation, or American, Native American. I'm not sure if PC is still hip or what, if that's the trend of the day. So, a silver mirror, nice. It was, and I left it at our house. But the problem is when you take the extreme manipulation, and I'm using this as just one example because you can turn that silver mirror into the entire money supply if you use the right fancy math. Oilfield wildcatter math is how you do it. So you take this mirror, and in order, and the funny part is, is the implied contracts that are derived from this, because there's nothing in good spirit, obviously. There's a lot of nefarious, malicious criminal, or I'm not going to say criminal, malicious intent going on, obviously. And so this mirror you take, and there's all sorts of interpretations, but you can basically turn that into one of the most powerful credit cards, charge card, or debt. You don't have to pay a cent because it was a gift. It's free money, you know? Just like that quarter that you give for the estate. That's the entire state if you can rigmarole it right, if you can do the right math. Well, with me, theoretically, based upon my tie into the Louisiana Marks capital levy and bank system, they can derive it because they're using me as an access key. So this mirror, the vanity issue, so the funny part is the uglier you become, the more it's worth. So the worse you act, the more money it takes to cosmetically enhance, surgically replicate, and conform to the standard normalcy of it. Then you can basically, and I honestly think that's just one example. There are a lot of other possessions. It's like I had one gun. I sold it to my uncle for $250 because I was dead broken out of gas. You know, well, I wasn't Baton Rouge. You know, I mean, obviously I was being set up and pillaged. There's no doubt about it. I was set up to be pillaged, like when I was playing that Dungeons and Dragons back there in elementary school, and them boys took all my possessions because we didn't beat the Demogorgon or some bullshit like that. You know, oh, they call you crazy for thinking that sort of thing, but in actuality, captivity makes the possessions magic stronger because I can't get it. Like I said, the possessions become powerful if the body is rendered impotent. And I'm definitely been castrated and rendered impotent by misinterpretation. Extreme to the max, low, super value pricing on possession value exploits. I mean, and it gets back into criminal intent or the judiciary. That's why I've talked so much about the balance of the law. But no, there's no balance here. We're talking about, when I first arrived, right around Easter of last year, there was a Gulfstream that's based here in Savannah. And they were testing in Roswell, New Mexico, where they keep the aliens of all places. Wow, that's some interesting secret. Like the X-Files, where his sister got abducted, you know. He was searching the paranormal. Oh, that's wacky. That's paranoid. We'll send you to the state funny farm for even talking like that, Ugga. So they come up with this, well, the test jet of the 650, which is the new plane, and it's taking off on the runway, and you got one wing in the dirt and one wing straight up like this, and it's dragging, and it rolled, and it blew up. It was nice. I think a $30-40 million private jet blew up. And I was like, well, that's just like the balance. If you want to, you know, you got the extreme weighted, but that's the same math exponents they're using. 1x equals 10 million. But then again, it's that they're trying to manipulate the name Louis. Because I'm a Louis, so everybody in the state of Louisiana, and then they buried me at the very, very bottom through a dungeon maze I was forced into, and I'm being facetious to a degree. So they buried me into a dungeon maze, so everyone's got rights to access my assets. But then again, you can use all sorts of logic. But then again, it's gray shadow areas of whatever. So it's that whole mentality of a gulf. You can't really fight, but it doesn't really matter. That's kind of why the possession. That's kind of why we are free range bubble boy hostages to make the so they can set up the schemes around us. So then the schemes derive energy through us while we're still free range hostages, you know, in our bubbles of control degree, dependent to the schemes themselves and threatened with loco if we try to escape. They're going to shoot us down like ducks trying to light up off the pond, you know? So basically the possessions that I've been had pillaged or lost are enhanced with this superpower, but I can't get them back. And I'm not, you know, that's why they like the vagabond rather than the James Bond. They don't like them investigators there digging into the dirt. You might get dirty if you dig up Gimp Wilford's latex bones, you know. So they keep us capped, or keep me on my short little nickel leash because I got hacked so bad. I didn't play the game properly. You know, I'm a $1 billion baby, but they're going to make me play the nickel ante intramurals, and I'm paying the salaries of all the big leagues. And not to mention the whole Rydell helmet. I mean, there's all sorts of, I mean, it's like an open credit card. Just charge whatever you want. They charge me. Everything charges me. Dick in the ass, death in the afternoon, stab, spear, and charge me passion fruits and call it holy wine or something like that. It's holy wheaten communion or something like that. So yeah, I know. I thought that was an interesting. There's Wheaton College in Chicago where my stepfather attended, and then there's a Wheaton College in Norton, Massachusetts, where they just played the Deutsche Bank PGA Classic, and so there's this. I think it's a loophole to malicious identity theft because of the Wheaton and the Norton utilities, the antivirus Norton thing. Whoops. And the Deutsche Bank, So that's just a theory. I think it's a loophole around identity theft for utilizing demonate wheat. Oh, it's radioactive wheat, though. I mean, that's all right. We're strong. Y'all, you got strong boys. They can take that radiation. They ain't no problem. Just call it bald eagles in there. All their hair falls out. They the master. So the possessions are pillaged from me, and then they get the Goodwill Hunting magic math there, and they just ramble on. I mean, pages and pages of exponents. Call it a well or a mine or you know, it's the mother lode mine. You can derive any result you want from these equations that you can figure. But the necessity is keep the source a free range kidnapped hostage chicken, because it's the derivative through the source that supplies the power. So that's why I have things, but they're taken from me to give to other people in order to derive power through me. And I mean, I'm like a leprechaun there spinning out magic goods and stuff like that. The troll lord games or something, I don't know. That's just the theory as to the enhancement based upon, well, and then it's the leverage used internationally and things like that. But in reality, it seems to me it's just it's based upon the genetic hack, first of all. That's why I've been relegated so low, way down there in the very, very bottom. Even though I wasn't anywhere near deserving of it, but they had to keep me at the very, very bottom, like Atlas, I guess. It's always tying into, there's always trying to justify in some method or madness. So I've been trying to dig into the strategy of what's creating my difficulty, my extreme super compacting gravitational field. And I just, theories and strategies, but when I try to, they call me paranoid. And I was writing a book on strategy, and they call me paranoid for dissecting strategy. That sounds real paranoid to me, but hey, if a doctor says it, that's God almighty truth, you know? I mean, for Christ's sakes, obviously I'm a kidnapped victim of and they even got a show on Fox coming out called The Mob Doctor, but it's, I mean, seriously, if there's benefit, and the problem is it's great, that's why they're desperate to keep the shadow area, because there must be a lot of chicanery going on out there. Must be a lot of schemes that they don't want to open that Pandora's box and dig into it, because you might, you know, and so that's mode. I'm digging into motive. That's one theory, and like I said, it might be fiction. Which, in case, hey, Real good story, right? But I can't get a writing assistant. I can't talk to anybody of competent means or connectivity in the publishing world, or I can't get an agent. I can't get an editor. Can't get an intern or an assistant. I pay all the, they want we co-sign. You do understand the whole method of co-signing diplomas. That's I think one of the methods. It's like a co-signature on the diplomas in order to open doors, even though I'm not allowed to get out of the basement there, hidden down deep, buried deep, that body down there rotten, starting to smell up something funky. So it's all these sorts of conclusions or causality, but like I said, I can't do anything with it. I've got tons of material. I'm just gonna. I mean, there's even. I mean, obviously they're trying to erase me or bury me in remembrance of TL, a 6-year-old boy who didn't get to go to a birthday party. Cost trillions now. It even up from billions. We're looking at trillions potentially when you factor in the screwed up government and the debt, of course, because of the horrific nature of the country. So who really knows what's going on? All I can do is sit here and speculate until they cut off my tongue again and, try to facilitate some sort of captivity. So I got to go play their stupid games to try to prove that they're master and I'm the dog and they're special and they have the right to steal my ass. Yeah, so that's what the law is about. It's like a perception. In a vain society, perceptions are deemed righteous. Yeah, well, that's kind of what's going on. That's why they drag me through the mud. I used to like to go four-wheeling back there, and they tied me up like them boys in Jasper, Texas, and dragged me around forever till I was a bloody pulp of fiction.